Juliana Davis, and this is my presentation on prolonged exposure therapy for PTSD. This is Jeremy. He's my co-worker and a master's level social worker, and he's volunteered to help me with this. So we will be using a fictitious story of a Marine combat veteran named Chet, who is coming for prolonged exposure therapy. So I will get started by explaining what we've done in the past couple of sessions, and then we will conduct session 3, which is the imaginal exposure session. Okay, so this is Chet Wilson. He is 41 years old. He is a Marine who served in combat, he served in the Marines for 3 years and had 2 deployments to the Middle East. This is our 3rd session of prolonged exposure therapy. In the first session, we went over the explanation and the rationale for prolonged exposure therapy. We did a detailed trauma history, an intake, and then I explained the breathing homework to him, and we reviewed that. In the second session, we also did the in vivo exposure hierarchy. I introduced him to the SUD scale. We made some anchor points. We made his list, and then we focused on his in vivo exposure homework. So in this session, we have already reviewed the homework from last time. I've given him a brief explanation of what we're going to be doing today, and he has agreed. He's willing to do this. So we're going to get started if you're ready, okay? Okay, so just so you know, this entire session will be audio recorded. So this is going to be part of your homework for the next week, to listen to the recording a few times, okay? Okay, so today we're going to be doing what's called imaginal exposure. So you're going to be recounting the event that we've identified as the most traumatic for you in first person detail over and over again. So what's going to happen is, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and tell me the story of the identified event. So we've already established that the starting point of that event, we know what the starting point was. I want you to back up about a couple of minutes before that and start there, before you knew that it was going to be a horrible event, okay? So you're going to close your eyes, tell me the story. I'll check in with you every few minutes on your distress level, but other than that, I'm not going to really interrupt you. I'm going to let you just tell the story. But what will happen is, when you finish telling your story, I'm immediately going to ask you to start over.
Over and over again?
Yes. We're going to do this for about 30-40 minutes. And you're going to just recount the story. Remember, eyes closed, first person, like you're there. And as you're telling the story, feel free to include any feelings or thoughts that you had in that moment, just whatever comes to mind, okay?
Okay.
So let's review your anchor points for your SUD scale. Okay? So we've already established that for you, a 0, which means minimal to no distress, is when you're at home, sleeping, watching TV, laying around the house, and you know you're safe.
Yes.
Okay? You identified a 100 as the actual event happening. Something like going back to an Army base, or if you were to be involved in another major trauma, like a mass shooting or a major emergency or something, that might be that level of distress for you again. In the middle, you rated as a 50 things like going to Walmart when it's really crowded and people touching you unexpectedly, loud noises, feeling trapped in a restaurant or something, like having your back to the door, situations where you feel like you're under a lot of scrutiny, like job interviews and things. And also you said that when you wake up, sometimes with the horrible nightmares, that's pretty bad. So that's the middle. So we've got 0 at home, 50 Walmart, crowded places, hearing sirens, feeling trapped in a restaurant, and then the 100s as the worst case scenario. So in the actual event, in the event that another major disaster were to occur or something like that, okay? So keep that in mind as I ask you what your SUDS levels are, because these are you're comparing your SUDS level in this moment in my office to these events. So when I ask you what's your distress level, I'm not asking what you were feeling in that moment. I'm asking what you feel right now in my office. Okay? So it's important to keep in mind that even though you're probably going to feel some anxiety and distress recounting these memories, they're just memories. They can't physically hurt you. You're here in my office. And the goal is for us to be able to, or for you to be able to recount this and process it, kind of like digesting a huge meal that makes you feel uncomfortable right after you eat it.
Sure.
Okay? Is there anything you don't understand about this process that we're doing today that I haven't explained yet?
No.
Okay. So in that case, we'll get started. Are you ready? Okay. All right.